Hi, this is Zonal Fear with a slightly different video to normal, but one that I feel should be made. I'm making this video in a direct address to Techland, the creators of Dying Light 2, in an attempt to make them aware of an issue with Dying Light 2 on handheld PC platforms. Techland have a long positive relationship with their community, so I'm hoping they will at least consider what it is I have to say today. I love Dying Light. It is one of my favourite series of all time, and I've now completed the original game on every platform it has ever released on, even the hard to get in Europe Switch version. Its sequel, Dying Light 2, I have now finished 3 times, with the PC platform being the only remaining platform I have not yet completed it on. I have a problem though. Regular viewers of my channel will know that I'm a big lover of all things tech, especially the new era of gaming handhelds based on the Ryzen series APUs. As of this video, I have now played Dying Light 2 on 3 handheld gaming platforms: the Steam Deck, the Asus ROG Ally, and, I'm kind of spoiling a surprise here, but the Lenovo Legion Go 2. They all, however, have the same problem: an erratic frame rate at any graphical fidelity that can only be corrected by third-party tools. Next up is Dying Light 2. This was at 1080p with FSR enabled for this. This is similar to Dead Space in some regards. I feel that being able to cap the frame rate to 30 would result in a more than playable experience. I would also think that dropping the resolution might help a little bit, but this feels more like something where the frame rate being capped rather than the resolution being lowered would actually help. The game ran okay enough, but like Dead Space, it suffered from a number of stuttering issues that, at least for me personally, were deal breakers again. With no option to cap the frame rate in the graphical settings I could see, and also with the armory crate, despite the fact that it was being set at 30 FPS, not engaging a 30 FPS lock on that. It's one of those games that, at least for me, was unplayable with an unlocked frame rate. Once again, like Dead Space, I'm going to have a look, see if there's something I can do about this to cap the frame rate, and maybe revisit this again in another video, as it feels like it can be playable. You can see me here again trying to adjust the frame rate cap with no success, but it feels like it can be playable, but that stuttering is often enough that it kind of ruins the experience for me at the very least. So we'll revisit this one alongside Dead Space in a future video. This is obviously not an ideal way to sort an issue out, especially when those third-party tools often don't, well, work. On the Steam Deck, you can set the performance cap to 30 FPS using Steam's inbuilt tools inside the quick access menu. This does work well enough and does kinda solve the issue. It's not quite perfect, but it's a solid enough experience. I did actually play Dying Light 2 over Christmas on the Steam Deck and had an enjoyable experience, although admittedly it runs a low resolution against its bigger cousins, but honestly that's not really my focus today. In my original ROG Ally video, I made a comment about the frame rate being all over the place to the point that the game was a stuttering kind of hell. I promised to revisit the Ally's performance with a forced 30 FPS cap at some point using external tools. Asus do have a feature called the Armory Crate, built into the Ally's performance management tools. It's not ideal and frankly doesn't really do what it's supposed to do. Using these tools, the Ally still had performance issues at game settings which would otherwise have been fine. However, it wasn't until I capped the frame rate to 30 FPS using a tool called RivaTuner Statistics Server that I finally got a playable frame rate. I published that 30 FPS video, and you can see that compared to the original performance at exactly the same settings, the difference is night and day with that 30 FPS cap. The thing is, I had to use third-party tools to achieve that, and while I'm sure that generally, if you own a handheld PC, you're mostly likely clued up about this kind of thing, but it does add an additional step to enjoyment, and those a little less familiar may opt to lower the quality of the game graphics and still have the same issue because of the wildly variable frame rate, resulting in an overall poor experience of what is an incredible game. Moving on to the Legion Go, I encountered exactly the same issues as I had with the ROG Ally. This shouldn't come as a massive surprise really, because they are both based off the Z1 Extreme chipset with identical graphical capabilities. The Legion also has third-party tools exactly like the Ally to try and correct this in performance management settings, but again this was not foolproof, and I once again ended up using RTSS to achieve a forced 30 FPS cap.
Ready for this?
My request to Techland is a simple one. Please add a framerate cap inside Dying Light 2 to allow handheld users to forcibly cap the framerate so we can actually enjoy the game rather than figuring out how low we have to go in graphical fidelity to alleviate the massive stuttering issues. I want to point out that these are graphical settings that inside of that 30 FPS cap perform absolutely fine with no real issue once you cap it using RTSS. It's only when you unlock the frame rate that the game then becomes a stuttering mess, basically. More to the point as well, RTSS is the only third-party tool that I had any success with actually forcibly capping the frame rate. And for those of you that know RTSS, it's one of the more complicated tools to use. Of course, there is another thing as well. You then have to remember to start RTSS every time you want to play Dying Light 2 at a stable frame rate. Both the Ally and the Legion Go play Dying Light 2 at 1080p with FSR set to performance absolutely fine with a forced 30 FPS cap. Without that cap, at any graphical settings, it is just an absolute stutterfest. This is something that generally your handheld players will thank you for, me included. This is a minor quality of life change, but for your players, the difference between enjoying the game or simply giving up in an attempt to find something playable in a race to the graphical bottom. I have provided as much sort of video evidence of these issues that I have had with Dying Light 2 on handheld gaming platforms in this video. However, I would also be happy for anyone at Techland to reach out to me to discuss this further. Anyway guys, thank you very much for watching, and if you haven't already, please consider following me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it now really, where you can see stuff that doesn't really make it to my channel. Until next time guys, take care, bye bye.